Good e- Take two. Good evening, everyone. This is Spectrum Voices Conversation here every Sunday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. UK time, and 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States time difference. So, good evening. This is Sunday, the 14th of April, 2024. Later, we'll have the Facebook discussion and go through the shared Facebook posts over the past couple of days. But first, we'll do a kind of update and kind of developments in our work for the past week or so. So, you happy to take that on, Julian?
Yep, that's definitely my cue, isn't it? How's my sound to you?
Your sound's very clear.
Brilliant. Um, I'm going to try and keep it a lot shorter, and my 10 minutes is not going to be 20 minutes long this week, but there's a lot to get in. The exciting development is something that we've absolutely just done. We've just walked out of a recording. Um, we're in Autism Awareness Week. That was a really well-rounded conversation that we just had that almost I can't see whether there's any need to edit it really, except just to process the sound, get that right out there as quickly as possible so that it happens before the end of the week, you know. Really happy with that. I'm also happy with some of the ongoing projects. We've got a change with Ocolicon. I've had an email from the organizer who has added Jim Taylor to the proposition to give weight to the possibility of it being accepted. And I'm fairly sure that we can ensure that all of our team are there, including Liz, for the actual performance. So that's good news. There's been a little to and fro between ourselves and the Autism Network. I was inspired after our conversation with half of their team to send an email over to them and see if we could be of any assistance during their elder project, Autistic Elder Project, because it looked as though they'd had a few hiccups in the way things have panned out for them. And there has been a little bit of positive news here and there, but it's gone a bit cold now, so I think we can say that we've reached out and we leave it at there's nothing really going to go forward, we guess, you know. I've got good news that the behaviour analysis project is starting to round up, so that we're actually getting a radical conversation going between autistic people and the behaviourism community. It's a delicate, time-consuming process to get a conversation open. And in our last conversation with Andrew Swartfigger, he described that there was a mistrust amongst his colleagues that we had to overcome. And it looks as though we have moved some distance on in that way. I've finished the edit that we actually had with Andrew, in which he described how he was reaching out to his colleagues to try and open a conversation with us. And he did use a phrase about the more challenging subjects at the end of his conversation with us. So I'm taking that as a good sign that over a period of time we can really start to address some of the really difficult subjects that people want to talk about with ABA, but we must continue to make it really obvious that it's a safe space for people who have wildly differing viewpoints or experiences to inform them. So, but at this very early stage, even though I've been working on this for slightly over a year now, I'm quietly confident that we're going to get somewhere with it. How do you guys feel about that particular project that we're doing?
I'm aware that it's quite controversial and a very sensitive topic, but I do agree that it's certainly something we need to discuss for the benefit for us all, and I'm happy for this to move forward. It'll be tough. Some of it will be tough, but I think can be quite progressive in terms of getting the conversation out there, and hopefully, get rid of some of the myths or erase some of the fears, or it's basically just get a conversation going, get the information out there for people.
I kind of think it's something that we have to do to advocate, is to repeat the basics again and again and again. And if we have the opportunity to speak to people who we don't see as sort of following those basics, and give them the opportunity to see what we would consider the basics, it has to be a good thing to me. And sometimes you have to go to places and deal with things that are obviously difficult and sensitive for ourselves as a group. I still see that it's worthwhile, and I'm glad that people are supporting me in that at the moment. Podcasts. I've put quite a few out there. In fact, I think I put 3 out last week, and they're being listened to as a group. It seems to me that any one of them somebody comes and listens to, and then they listen to the other 2. So that's a good feeling when we've got this 10 episode series of A Seat at the Table. We're likely to have a 10 episode series of our preliminary discussions with the ABA professionals quite soon, from the material that I've recorded before, and also from the material we've just recently made. And we're also going to have something of a project throughout the year with the Oculocon presentation in cooperation with the Autism Network, where they're going to share with us what they've learned about creating equity and communication and a seat at the table for us during the year. And we have 3 professionals from autism who have differing backgrounds, but it's a nice balanced group amongst ourselves. We're also a balanced group, so I'm looking forward to all of those. If we had only those 3 projects that got finished during this year, I think we would be pretty happy.
Yeah, totally agree with you there.
I think something I should do is to make it so that people from outside the UK can watch the most recent BBC programme that has autism connected to it. it's potentially a more light-hearted view. It seems to have received relatively good reviews from the autistic community, accessible to people from the non-autistic community. So if we could make it so that people could stream it where the music's been turned down a bit, or the whole soundscape is within a much more modulated area, making it much more accessible for autistic people, and that would also enable the use of the Disability Act for the copyright. So there we go. It feels like there's a lot going on. Any other business from anybody?
Just Liz is having an issue with sound. Just to add that. The 5 o'clock was fine, but it seems like you sound too low and I'm too loud. But Liz has been given some comments in the chat.
Okay, I'll have a look at it now. I'm just going to alter you down a bit. Can you you definitely unmute your mic, yeah? Okay. I'm going to bring you down a bit. It needs to be opened in Chrome, Liz. This platform has to be opened in Chrome. Chrome is much better than Safari, even though it is based on the Chromium engine. So open in a Chrome browser. Oh, she did say Chrome.
Yeah.
Okay, they did say Chrome. Okay, so I'll make an adjustment here. I'll increase my settings on my microphone for this audio.
Seems to be crashing, unfortunately. Do you want me to continue?
How's my mic volume now for you, Harry?
Well, it's very clear.
Okay.
It's just so frustrating because it's like you want to be suffering with the person that's having the problem so you can understand more. But no, you're very clear. How's my sound? I know I do speak kind of loud.
It's very good to me.
Okay. Morris, how am I to you? How's Julian to yourself?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's just continue with this.
Yeah.
Is there any other business, anything that people want to bring up so we need to think about?
Not from me, no.
Okay, let's move on and let's start the next show.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. This is Spectrum Voices Conversation, here every Sunday from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. UK time and 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States. This is the Facebook part of the broadcast where we share the Facebook posts and discuss them. And we'll just start from the most recent one. The most recent post, the first one of tonight, is from As I Am, a charity organisation described as Ireland's national autism charity. And what they've shared is a quote about community voice. And what it says is, it takes a little more time and effort to be inclusive and to make autistic people feel welcome and to form friendship. But if everyone had more patience and understanding, it would make a huge difference in helping autistic people to feel included and less isolated.
Yeah, as in everyone within our community.
Yeah. The word inclusion.
Thank them for saying so. Inclusion in specific things you seem to belong to in your local orbit and interest orbits.
Two words kind of stand out for me. Just looking as it, as it is now. Inclusion, of course, but also, is this something I need to take, in consideration for myself? Is patience. I mean, it's talking about people having patience, in terms of people, autistic people and being patient around that, but it's the word patience within yourself. I mean, sometimes you just feel in a hurry to get things done, or it seems like the world around you is in a hurry and a rush, and it's just like patience, slow things down a bit, is an ideal thing if it can be done.
I seem to know how united or divided the scene over there is. Background to this thought is it written looking across at us, or is it written about their own scene? Are they modelling the inclusive approach, the safe approach?
The next post is from Christy Forbes, Autism and ND Support, public figure, Autism Neurodiversity Individual and Family Support Specialist from Australia. And it's a quote from Intune Pathways. And it's an interesting one, I suppose they all are. Beware the pressure we place on ourselves to be regulated does not become ableist, anti-human. Sorry, I'll read this again. The quote, what it says is, beware the pressure we place on ourselves to be regulated does not become ableist, anti-human, and perfection pursuing. I can sort of understand it in a way that in a lot of things that I do personally is trying to perfect some things like behaviour or perfect how things, like planning and things like that. Obviously, this is more deeper than that, but that, the perfection is a word that kind of stands out to me. Although there's other strong words there, but the perfectionism and kind of remembering you're human and remembering you give yourself a bit of flexibility. the whole kind of quote is quite strong in what it says. So what do others think?
I think for me the concept of the good enough job is where it's at. I think I found being able to plan things in incredible detail to their conclusion and imagine them in quite a complex way when I was younger a disablement, because I could see how much there was to do, all the construct that would be needed, and it was overwhelming being able to see, you know, whether it be constructing something in my head physically or whether it be thinking of a diagram of an organisation or a business concept. And it took quite a long time to grapple with the concept of a good enough job. Something I tried to instill with my daughter when she was under enough pressure in education, because she was trying to go for a very high pressure course. Something I tried to help my wife with when she was running a clinic. A good enough job, and that we really need to get that into our culture to advise ourselves to look for that concept of a good enough job.
That's a good enough thought itself. That's a very good thought. Because my teachers needed it. All that adults and medics and planners need it.
Yep, it's about standards. I mean, there's the other side of the coin is like, it's like if you're a perfectionist yourself or you try to be, it's like your standards from other people puts pressure on others to do the same sort of thing. So if you can learn it yourself about a good enough job, things are good enough. It's, I don't know the word adequate, but good enough. It sounds better. It's like it would certainly help in terms of kind of mental well-being, in terms of what you expect from others, and overstressing and how things can happen in terms of using services or dealing with other people. But in that perspective of yourself or myself, I do find that very difficult to do, but I have done it. It's like doing good enough for the effort that's been made, and there's obviously these kind of barriers and how things could be better, but it's hard to do because of these restrictions or barriers or whatever. So good enough, that in its quote is a very good description to inspire to, and not put too much pressure on yourself. The next post I shared was from Maybe Autism is My Superpower. Something that I've shared quite a few times, but it's been a while since I've shared this one. An author, Ben Blanchett, is an autistic teen, autism advocate, musician, and author who focuses on his abilities. And it's just not just a, but it's an example of a 40-second example where he's doing a sort of musical performance on bells. So it's these sort of things that I like to share as well, rather than just information, but kind of videos and showing people the more positive side and talents of people, as well as education topics, discussion. So that's what that was shared for. So the description is desk bells can be fun to play. I hope you enjoy this video Happy Saturday, everyone. So it was a little Saturday thing I put on yesterday to sort of kind of break the sort of the information posts that I generally share in the page.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of fun. It's a very visual image, and the person involved is obviously getting a lot out of it. So, why not? Good fun.
Outside the box with sound.
Yeah, the music thing, sound, performance, it's quite inspiring to me. I mean, sometimes I share, artists, people that poets. We've had singers and Autism a Superpower. Ben Blanchett from that has done some singing as well, some vocals, as well as instruments. So it's loved. It's great to share that. A lot of it is like communication as well as fun. Because myself, when I used to not vent, but see the kind of the emotion, a sort of the bit of art that I did was generally poetry. I don't do so much now. I don't do any now, but it's good to see people using their talents in a very positive way, and it makes them feel great. Despite all the things that may happen in between. Life can be a bit tough. I mean, it can be tough for anybody, but it's good to see people with hobbies and general talent. It's good to share things like that. The next post is from Jordan James, the autistic photographer. That's something else that autistic people like to do. A public figure, and who also has a podcast called the Neurodivergent Experience. And what is shared as a post, and a quote or information, and it says autistic stroke ADHD different is a neurotype, evolved to bring diversity of thinking to the species. This unfortunately comes with disabilities, but fortunately has abilities too. What do people think about that particular quote?
Even-handed. Yes. Now, what we've been saying for 20 years, I mean, when the disabilities are more emphasised, to be able to emphasise the abilities. Not everyone likes to. Limitations might be, if some folks find disabilities too strong, don't self-image that way, then limitations probably covers a more universal range, but I've got no problem with this wording.
What I find interesting about this post is, well, certainly from the way I've read it, it says it describes autism, ADHD different. It's a neurotype, and it's evolved to bring diversity of thinking to the species. Then it says this unfortunately comes with disabilities, and then it turns around again saying, but fortunately has abilities too. So it kind of, I don't want to say takes a dip, but it's like an interesting kind of journey the actual information takes. It's like at first it's going down a wee bit, and then but hey, wait a minute, it's there's a positive here as well. Basically talking about life in general can be like that.
Justin mentions autism is my superpower.
Good evening, Justin.
Do things evolve to be present as a scattered minority rather than evolve as a shift in a population overall? Especially if it's a type of population that doesn't take minorities very readily. Do we have enough of an evolutionary strength to be manifested over the top of the group resistance to diversity? Do we exist by random luck or by there actually being a manifestable driver to existing despite those odds against it?
The next post is from Life of an Autistic Mum, a non-profit organisation. Welcome to our secret world of autism. Here we educate, spread. Start again. This next post is from Life of an Autistic Mum. The page is a non-profit organisation, and description is welcome to our secret world of autism. Here we educate and spread autism awareness, love and light. And what they've shared is another quote. It's like a reminder to parents that are looking after people that have autism. And it says, we are not special parents because we have special needs children. We are regular people who have become better human beings because of our special needs children. It's like an inspirational quote for people that may have, will definitely have kind of tough times. And it's good to kind of remind yourselves of things like that, inspirational quotes, encouraging quotes, encouraging statements, messages of love, messages of friendship and just generally, supportive things, which supportive words and messages, which is it's like that I love to share because things like that can make someone's day, which is great to share.
Yeah, I think it's a self-supporting sentiment that should be applauded. It's really difficult for human beings to empathise with each other. We split ourselves into races and countries and groups and cultures in all kinds of ways to divide ourselves. And however much people talk about empathy, it's really difficult for people to empathise with somebody who has a different neurology to themselves. That goes both ways, autistic person to somebody who's more regular on in the whole Venn diagram of people structures. It's a sentiment that says people have had to reassess their value systems, their lives, the way things work, and it's been the inspiration from their child being so different that has led them to what they feel now is a very positive and a better place. I love reading about success stories of special needs children and people who are looking after autistic people who get that joy out of it. And it feels like if we could, as a community, reach out to those who are getting a positive feeling from us and be kinder to them, and especially during times like Autism Awareness Week and all those different problems, if we could reach out and just offer ourselves to bridge the difficulties, it would be better.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's just it's spreading the message. You're right about sometimes humans, people are just I can totally understand. Myself, you can get caught up in your own little world, and you forget about others in many ways. Not in a bad way, but you feel kind of secluded from others. So sometimes things can just make you think a little bit more open and just kind of realise there's a bit of support, or people can say something to make you feel more positive, or just give you a boost, or just say something you've never heard before that just can be so positive. It's just good to hear that, and it's good to share that. The next post is from Salford Spectrum. Let's say that again. The next post is from Salford Autistic Spectrum Conditions Forum, and they're described as a community organisation, and it's a Facebook for the Salford Development Worker for Autistic People. The content is not the views of Salford City Council. Salford City Council social media rules and guidelines, and Salford City Council. So I think it's just it must be funded by it, but it's saying it's not. The opinions and things that are raised is not of the council itself. And what the post, it's promoting events coming up in Salford, Greater Manchester, England, UK. And it's asking, are you a woman with a learning disability or autistic woman living in Greater Manchester, aged 35 years and above? Would you like to help us with our project? We want to find out women's understanding and experiences of the menopause. We are holding 3 workshops. You only need to attend one of them. Please let us know which one you would like to attend. We have only 12 spaces available for each session, and it's on later this month. There's one the 24th of April from 12:30 to 3 p.m. In Tameside. You'll get a £20 gift card for attending. And it's the same with all of them, and it's the same venue. There's one on the 30th of May 2024 from 12:30 to 3 p.m. and the 25th of June 2024 from 12:30 to 2 p.m. The last one in June will be an online session via Microsoft Teams, and you'll get a £10 voucher for attending. It's a project from People First Tameside. Greater Manchester Integrated Care Partnership, and Pennine Care NHS Foundation Trust. So I'm just kind of promoting something that some people may be interested in that will listen to and may read our Facebook page.
Justin from the last post says bridging the gaps, and I think that's a good way of expressing it. Bridging the gaps, Autism Awareness Week.
Totally agree with that. Bridging the gaps. Yep, I like that. There's far too many gaps, but at least, as Justin's reminders, they can be bridged. But yeah, totally agree with that. Thanks, Justin. The next post is from Beyond 60 Seconds podcast. And it's described as a podcast, and the description is extraordinary stories from neurodivergent people. And for the latest episode, they're speaking to Nick Heaney, a neurodivergent artist. And the quote from Nick is, "The big goal I have for my art is to make a deeper connection with the world around me. I hope to make a body of art that, in the future, serves a form of activism or advocacy for people on the spectrum and neurodivergence in general." So it's a description of a podcast and an interview, a discussion with Nick. I like that. What's other thoughts?
Might be sensory patterns that others will recognise, or standouts in scenes. They try out the connecting of patterns that make shared impacts.
I just like how our posts always seem to have a theme that's linked, even though it's not deliberate, because it depends what's shared day by day. You know, earlier on we were talking about a kind of musical kind of art thing, but this one is someone that does visual art, and uh, Nick Heaney, who's a neurodivergent artist, who is actually describing on why they do the art, and the big goal is to it's like a deeper connection with the world, and it's a form of activism and advocacy for people on the autistic spectrum and neurodivergence in general. That sort of connection, that sort of message, and I like all that. It's nice, and it'll be an interesting podcast to listen to.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought our attention to that. I think I'll dip into that myself. It's good to see other people out there doing interesting things, arty. So many of us are in this stereotype of the engineer or the technical guy, and we're human beings, which means we should also express different parts of ourselves, and also get rid of that stereotype in itself, because an awful lot of neurodivergent people are the artistic people, the creatives.
Well, I like reading about stuff like this. It's sometimes every now and again, but I seem to forget about it. I mean, we've talked about art and therapy and things like that itself. It's like not so long ago. Well, it's a while ago now, but I met like a photographer or someone who does photography in Oxfam, and then we've spoken to people that do art and things like that, and it's like something sometimes like something I would like to try and do, for the general same reasons. But then I just forget. So it's quite inspiring, especially when you listen to someone describe why they do it and see the work, of course, and then what it's based on. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to listen to.
From my point of view, it's kind of also the mental gym thing that I have to do between now and my demise into befuddlement. Um, Playing non-competitive Scrabble most days, doing something physical most days to keep a tiny bit of muscle mass on, doing editing to keep my brain up, well, which is an art form in itself. Trying to get somebody who has repeated themselves or gone around in circles to actually come out clearly saying what they're going to say in their own words is an art form in editing, as you well know. We need a balance as human beings.
The next post is from Chris Bonello, autistic author, rising creator, author of the Underdog series, What Do You Love Most About Life? And Alfie Smith, the Speedcuber. And what is shared, I found this quite interesting. This is in relation to the eclipse. And it's good how people kind of take something and use it in a nice positive way. And he says that millions of people in North America just lined up to watch a giant exploding nuclear fireball, 1.3 million times the volume of Earth, get blotted out by a lump of rock 0.0000155% its size. Think of that the next time you believe that you're too small to make a difference. I may have missed out a zero there. There's quite a lot of zeros to read. But I'm quite inspired by that, by that post itself. You're never too small to make a difference.
Yeah, because I always think of the small thing being real under the surface of the colossus, and it's a very nice reversal of a commonplace trope and turning it back into the message it should be, to use astronomy to big up our significance. We so often hear the cosmos scales used to make us feel insignificant, when our own scale is always real, so every scale is real to the folks living it. To reach up from.
Yeah, I think it's such a positive. I mean, sometimes I need to remind myself when things get a bit frustrating. is sometimes you go, "Look, it's only me," like coming out with a point, saying something, or feeling that you're not making a difference because it's only you against the big bad world, and the world's too big, and what influence do you have, etc., etc. But things like that kind of give you a little nudge, positive one, tap on the shoulder, that doesn't matter how small you may feel that you may be, you're still significant enough to make a positive difference if you want to, if that's your intention. You're never too small, really, to make a difference, because, like, if you've got some good advice shared from your own experience and you give it to just one person who feels that they may need it because they're struggling or they're feeling down about themselves, but you give a positive experience and inspires them a little bit, that is absolutely more powerful than any eclipse that I can think of any big major event, outside connecting with other humans. I mean, it's just sometimes you just need reminded, and some simple messages and even just examples of stuff like that. It's amazing of what audience or what attention, but or inspiration that you can make by what you say and what you do, no matter how small you may feel that you are or what you are doing is.
Wow, that's a lovely quote. I'm going to put that statement aside into a clip, I think.
The next post is from ICANN Network Limited, and they are a non-profit organisation, and they are Australia's largest autistic-led organisation. 50% of our team are autistic. We deliver group mentoring in schools and via online settings. We share our insights through talks and consultancy. And the quote they've shared, and there's a little supporting text to that. I'll share the quote first. It says, "Autistic kids are often told that we need help with our social skills. When I'm hanging out with the people who understand me, my social skills are actually quite awesome." And that was from an ICANN mentee, age 13. And it says at the bottom, it says in the supporting text, "This powerful insight, which we share regularly, came from one of our autistic mentees, 13, in response to the question, 'What is something you wish everyone understood about you?' Different social skills, not lack thereof." That's a good point.
It's one of those different strokes points. We have different levels of what we can do in our communicating, and I think mine was lacking compared to his. I'm dry up a conversation even in the right company. So again, it would be wrong to become militant and say none of us do, some of us do.
I think the main thing for me is who gets to choose the norms for social skills. And the reality at the moment is that the majority population gets to choose the norms for social skills. The way we might socialise with each other and choose to socialise, the skills we use, the way we communicate with each other might almost be described as a different culture. And yet it's described as a lack. Sometimes there's a way of communicating between autistic people that transcends language. Just very minor flickers that go across our faces can be read and understood, that are totally missed by the people around us. Who gets to choose the norms? Well, at the moment the majority gets to choose the norms, and we can only mildly influence that.
That's a good point. I mean, we've said many, many times, and many others have said many, many times, is everyone is different. People do things in a different way, but general society, culture, whatever you want to call it, creates what is normal behaviour. What is the normal way of being? What's the normal way of doing things? So if you don't sort of, follow, if your behaviour and the way that you are doesn't follow those rules that have been put by whoever they are who did it, you're looked upon as strange, and sometimes you're looked upon as even very, extreme. It's bad enough being called ill and, strange, weird. There's something wrong with you. Sometimes, if you act too different, some people find you dangerous in many ways because of the lack of understanding that many people are different and people do things different ways. I mean, the thing that always sticks out to me, which is probably the point of this post, is school and the school environment because of what I've experienced. It's like if you're at a certain age, you've got to behave in a certain way, you've got to have a certain amount of knowledge, you've got to have a certain amount of preparation. And the only support that I can recall at the time, I mean, I'm going back to the early to late 90s, so it's some time ago. You would hope that things have changed then. Since then, it was like there was learning support, but apart from that, there was nothing else. If you acted different or you seemed to be a bit behind, it was like you were a problem child or a bad influence, or I've seen it in not just people with autism. I've seen it for other people as well, and it was just a bad time. But you would think, you would hope that things have progressed a bit since then.
Out of kilter is problem child. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. Justin says, I have a pretty decent set of social skills in the right company and setting. So yes, Justin's a lot better at flow and bringing up topics without self-consciousness than I am.
Also in the text, our astronomy correspondent says, could not see the eclipse from here, cloudy, and there was only going to be a start to the partial phase to see for a few minutes before sunset if you had a low horizon for it with no mountains in the way. So we didn't really get much of a choice and chance with the eclipse as like they did in America.
An interesting one. I didn't even question it. When things like that happen, it's obviously a big, it's a big event. It's like everything else. It's kind of blown out of proportion. And even if things are international, as we're well aware, that you'd be able to watch online or on the television or whatever anyway. You wouldn't have to be happening in your location. but I never even questioned even if it was going to be happening here. Well, when I say here, I mean Scotland, Loch Lomond. I'm close to Loch Lomond. I never even thought of it. I didn't even look for it. I didn't. But I like the descriptions that Justin has made. And the post itself was from North America anyway, so fair enough.
It was certainly in proportion. It was certainly in proportion to the experience there, because where you have the totality track, which is always only a small part of the world, but I went to Cornwall for the one in 1999.
I remember watching the 1999 one from Carter Bar, but obviously it wasn't as good a crossing. It was only a partial, I think.
That's right, it wasn't the totality track, yeah. No, I think we're in a 700 years gap with our totality track in Scotland, actually.
I do remember being in the mountains at the top of the pass between England and Scotland, driving up with it starting to go dark quite quickly, and the shapes in the sky, and then getting there, and when it covered as much as it was going to cover, that very strange feeling of a different light, a duller light, and a kind of colder light. Very odd.
The next post is from the neurodivergent adult, a digital creator, creating videos about neurodivergent adult life, run by ADHD married to autistic, autism stroke ADHD stroke memes. And what they've shared is an autism fact number 30. And it says 78% to 85% of autistic adults are unemployed in Western countries. And that was shared, that was from the neurodivergent adult. This is more than any disability that was described below it. And the supporting text is saying that autistic people are the most underemployed people of people. I'll say that again. The supporting text says that the autistic people are the most underemployed group of people in the world, leading to a life of poverty and contributing to their shorter lifespan. We need to do better. Neurodivergent adults often find themselves looking for alternative ways to make money, which include things like running educational and advocacy pages on social media like this one. So it's just saying for just $1 a month, you can help support me and my work, and thank you for that. So it's basically saying that that's the way that they make a living, but also raises that or highlights that fact. They're saying that a lot of autistic adults, the majority of autistic adults in Western countries, are unemployed, and in many ways can say underemployed in terms of how the employment kind of culture works, as we've described before in previous conversations.
We've failed to budge the employment culture. We've budged, well, having a few solutions here and there, like interwork for us, but added on to the picture. But the nature of the main employment culture remains what the class behind it wants it to be. I don't think the big charities choose to threaten that either. We've been over so many times how we don't fit the interviews game and the rule you got to pretend you got these great communication skills and everything you apply for, whether or not the job actually involves them.
Yep, it's just it's the culture we've kind of talked many times before, and it's not like a dead end in terms of what we talked about. I mean, about alternatives. I mean, they gave the sort of inspiration that a lot of people, do the sort of Facebook and that do not just say Facebook, but let's go back to it. Neurodivergent adults often find themselves looking for alternative ways to make money, to make a living, which include things like running educational and advocacy pages on social media. So, and many people do. I mean, it's like but there's other ways forward, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to talk about themselves. Not everybody wants to educate and advocate. But at least there's a way forward. But going back to the kind of interview games, and in fairness, we have heard it from both sides. You know, not just from the side of people going for a job, but also the side of people that are looking to employ someone to their company or to the workplace. It's like it's a game that affects so many other people. I mean, it's there's a lot of stress on the employer as well as the potential employee, and it's time pressures and it's a lack of patience, and autism or autistic people seems to still have that negative. So I mean, some people look at autistic people as people that may need a lot of support, and there's not a way that they can provide that. But I think there's some people that may see autistic people as a threat because of the way they think and the way they put forward, and sometimes the confidence that they generate from, or they perceive to give out in terms of the way they're talking and things like that, that they may do in interviews. I'm kind of rambling a bit, but it's just I'm thinking of, it's just the good variance of people in this particular field of employment. I mean, my own experiences, I've never, well, I won't say I've never been employed, I have been employed, but the only employment that I've actually had as an adult it ended 10 years ago. It was 2013 to 2014, and it was a Scottish government supported, funded initiative, which was basically autistic specialised in terms it was done through the Scottish Autism Network at the time, that was based in the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow. But I've been to interviews for different things. Most has been Western Barns Council, because in the NHS, Greater Glasgow and Clyde, and it's been admin jobs, and it's just like you can say what you want in the application, and I think the application kind of goes against me because of my employment history. There's a lot of work there, but it's not been employed, and people will be asking why. I suppose that would go against me a bit, if not a lot. It just depends on the employer and their perspective, but also just the interview process itself, which is, you need to be this sort of character. I mean, you probably need to be a right good bullshitter as well to get away with a lot, because a lot of these people, it seems, and some people boast about it, and some people have kind of described it. And I've even heard an employer describe that this actually happened to them, and then they get found out later down the line. It's just people have just put on a performance, and it's something in terms of myself, feel that I cannot do, because you need to be honest. And if you're not honest, you're not, it's just that it doesn't work well with me if you're not honest. I understand the rules of certain things, but I certainly couldn't put on a total performance and come out with total confidence that interviews would appear to intend that they would want. The next post is from Autism Through His Eyes, described as a mental health service page. And it says, "Come along on our journey to be better." Excuse me. Autism Through His Eyes. It's a mental health service, and it describes us, "Come along on our journey to better understand our lives through the eyes of a boy with autism, his skilled companion dog Jude, his big brother and best friend, and mum and dad." And what they've shared is a fact. I've got a few facts tonight, but this is part of Autism Awareness Month. And the fact that they've put across and they've shared is that people with autism do not have a specific look. The myth that people with autism have specific physical traits unique to their condition is false. There is often nothing about how people with autism look that sets them apart from other people. I've never heard about the autistic look before, if I'm going to be totally honest. Then maybe I'm lucky.
I think something a lot of us have heard is, "Oh, you don't look autistic," when you sort of come out. And I think that might be what this post is getting at. That by virtue of people saying that, what they mean is that there are specific physical traits that make you look autistic. I don't know whether that's what people really mean. I think maybe they mean you don't seem autistic, but they say you don't look autistic, because, I mean, in terms of neurotypical communication culture, those are basically the same. They're close enough to being the same thing. But I think perhaps what people mean when they say you don't look autistic is that they're saying, I am not observing any behaviours that I associate with autism. So if you're not visibly stimming, perhaps, if you're making eye contact, you might not, in inverted commas, look autistic. You might not seem autistic because you're not exhibiting behaviours that people associate with autism. I'm not sure that it's a specific physical trait like hair color or eye color or something like that, or gait, although lots of autistic people do tend to have a slightly different gait to non-autistic people. I think walking on your tiptoes is quite common. Just for proprioceptive input, it seems to be a preference for some autistic people. So I think this post might have gone kind of in one direction with it. It's a bit kind of deceiving as to what they actually mean, perhaps.
Well, the most visible, even visible itself implies like the most apparent way for the traits perceived as clues that folks are familiar with to be manifest would be visually. So there's this, you captured it saying about seeing signs of the actions or eye mode being anything that evokes the observer's ideas.
Following on from what Liz says, I mean, I get it now. Yeah, I've had that. I don't know if I've had You Don't Look Autistic, but something similar to that. I'm not kind of acting like the. I know I always go back to this, and it's kind of getting fairly old because people probably haven't seen the film. Dustin Hoffman, I'm counting cards, or I can count matchsticks, when they fall on the floor. But yeah, I've had that, that some people have known people with autism, and I don't have the characteristics of maybe someone else that they may know, or some people, or a group of people that they may know. Don't have the characteristics, but yep, it's not people saying anything bad. It's just, I think a lot of it. I think we've actually said this before. Now that Liz and Morris have kind of raised, kind of talked about this. It's like, ah, I kind of went, oh, I'm being lucky. I've not kind of really heard of that before, but then thinking about it, and after what's been said, following my statement, it's like, yes, I have. So it's not that uncommon.
I would like to give them a really, really sarcastic congratulations for managing to get the phrase people with autism in 3 times in four lines of text, effectively, and the puzzle piece. I mean, it's just, it's so, there's so many things wrong with it that it's almost a thing of beauty. It's almost a kind of benchmark of the, these are all the things that actually may not, these are all the things that lots of people complain about seeing in Autism Month is these posts. So a very sarcastic congratulations for managing to get so many things that annoy a lot of autistic people in one post. It's efficient, and I have to admire the efficiency.
I didn't even notice the puzzle piece. I just seen the butterfly, but yeah, I see it now. And it's like the quote itself is from the National Autism.org. Is that American? US? Doesn't matter who it is, but yeah, we're absolutely right. But it just highlights, it's all these different messages, and there's certainly some that certainly do great with autistic people with autism.
I've just been sitting back with the deliciousness of listening to Liz. I was concerned that maybe Liz wasn't going to join us this evening, but if there was any post that was going to bring Liz to the conversation, that was the one that was going to get them out.
Also, my laptop fan has stopped making a noise currently, so I've been like, okay, I think it's safe to join. The last thing I want to do is unmute and have the noise of my laptop fan might be really loud through my laptop speakers. I don't want anyone to feel like they've been put into a wind tunnel with it.
So you're confident it is? You'd heard that it had stopped. Well, yeah, we didn't. I didn't hear any, so that's good. Justin. So I've had people saying that to me before. Raymond Babbitt. And Rain Man putting on performances, not being honest about things. That's an earlier line which I didn't catch which moments in what Harry was saying that's referred to. Just as can Harry recall?
That'll be about the job interviews.
Oh yes, right. Yes, perfect.
There are a few things, however, that you do notice about other people when, as an autistic person, you do notice some certain patterns in people's expressions or behaviour, or the time it takes them to move from one expression to another, or a certain amount of eye contact. And there are loads and loads of actual physical look clues that make us able to recognise each other. I don't think that's what people mean when they say they don't look autistic. I think they mean a lot of different things as well. But if I was recognising someone, I think there are a certain group of autistic men that walk in a certain way. You can see a certain demeanour and you add these kind of partial stereotypes together to kind of clump together our tribe. There are different. You could have a cartoon with lots of different aspects of different autistic people that have their own little group stereotypes.
I think that's a really good point, because it is by observing other people's behaviour or gait or whatever that I think, okay, I think that person's autistic. I think it might be a bit similar to the sort of the idea that you shouldn't assume that somebody is a gay man if they have a camp voice or if they do lots of like hand movements. However, if you are also a gay man, those may be the things you are looking for to determine whether somebody else is a gay man. Do you see what I mean? So from within the community, these are the signs and signals that we use to find our kin. But when somebody's doing it from outside the community, they may not actually be looking for the right things, or is it somehow not okay for people to do that? Because that's a really good point. We do look for the things that make somebody look autistic, to think, okay, is that person, are we neurokin? Is there something here? But then when someone from outside the community does it, that's not cool.
Yeah. I can give you an example, and we know the person. I was in a Zoom meeting one time with the neurodivergent, curious, identifying researcher that we know, Lindsay. And on the first time I met her, I don't think I was paying any attention to this Zoom call, because Zoom calls to me were quite new. Being on camera and all that kind of stuff was not my life. And the second time, I had a little bit more time to observe her, and during that call I made the decision in my head that there was something neurodivergent that was ringing bells about this person. And it was strange because they were in a very odd position, being a professional, leading a group of autistic people in a forum. And I remember at the time mentioning it to the guys in our private meeting conversations where we had social meetings together. And when it was open between us and she mentioned it, she said, why was I aware that, and even because even meeting somebody on camera, there were various things about different autistic women that I have known, or different autistic people that I have known, that just made this association, this pattern forming, this recognition.
I think pattern recognition is a clear part of life. I think also the thrust of the post-objection is to conclusion from absence of patterns rather than from presence of them. And there shouldn't be any difference between inside or outside the community. They can't assume anything from absence of patterns, presence of them as a hint to look closer.
I've taken it very off topic there, but it's another subject, isn't it? Recognising each other.
But I think it's the same topic, because recognising each other and other folks recognising us. I'm not saying that the rights and wrongs are pretty similar. It's just how you do the recognising.
Yeah, I agree with Morris. I don't think we went off topic. You went off topic, Julian. It kind of links in well from the post and from what we've talked about the discussion that's came from the post. So, yep, it's sometimes stereotyped behaviours is how you identify or how you think you're going to identify with someone that you may think has an identity or a condition or whatever similar to yourself. So even though we kind of complain about stereotypes and what people say, sometimes you kind of follow it a bit if you think you recognise something like a quirk or a behaviour or even a type of walk or how the speech or how people talk. It's you still fall into that trap, although you don't well, not everyone does, but you just don't broadcast it. You just kind of think to yourself because of the stereotypes and the assumptions that are made by culture in itself. So, especially when you're looking to connect to people that you may find maybe you're hoping maybe similar to yourself, especially if you feel kind of isolated, and many people do.
It's worth saying that it's not okay to out people, that people's knowledge of themselves, it's too intimate, too important information to be somebody else under somebody else's control. It has to be a very personal decision to be openly known as autistic.
No, I totally agree with that as well. It's up to I certainly wouldn't want to out anyone or to out anyone. I mean, yeah, without getting into a big spiel about it, I totally agree with what you're saying. There is a balance, and it's not just about you; it's about the other person. It's about other people. So totally agree with that. Well, we've come close to the end of the broadcast. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking part. It's been a really good discussion and a good number of various topics that we went through. So this is Spectrum Voices Conversation here every Sunday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. UK time, and 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States. So thanks again for people taking part in the discussion tonight. Thanks for people for listening, and of course, thanks for people for sharing all the posts that we've shared from their particular original pages and groups, which we're able to create conversation and generate some good discussion from. So thanks again, and thanks for listening, and look forward to speaking to you next time. Good night.
Good night, Phil. Good night, everyone.
Good night.